Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Reality Bites, the show where we talk about all of the greatest hits reality TV shows have to offer. I'm your host, Jake Schaff, and before we get started, I do want to just clear up one little thing before anyone gets into the episode and anyone gets confused. The thing you see on my desk during on the image, that is a microphone. And I'm just bringing this up now just in case anyone gets confused and thinks it's an immunity idol. It is not to be grabbed, and it is not to be played for at any tribal council. It is not valid and will never be valid. I mean, we wouldn't want anyone making a fool of themselves, am I right? all right. Now that we have that out of the way, let's get into the actual episode. So, if you weren't able to tell, I was poking fun at what happened tonight because, oh man, everything was bonkers. Let's not waste any time. Survivor Season 40, Episode 9, War is Not Pretty. It certainly is not. So, let's get started right where we left off. Everyone coming back to camp after the vote off of Wendell. It was a 9-3 vote. The only people not involved in voting off Wendell were Michele and Nick, who neither of whom are very happy right now. Michele, especially, she was talking about how she wanted to get rid of Wendell eventually, which I honestly wasn't sure if she did or she didn't. I mean, I could understand why she'd want to get rid of him, given the whole exes sort of thing. And I think deep down she's maybe slightly bitter that she wasn't the one who got to get rid of him in the first place. But she hates being left out of the vote and is hoping that this isn't the start of her and Nick being shafted all the way down to the bottom. Which, in a way, it sort of is, because this is the start of Tony and all the other big players going after the, as he called them, the hyenas, the free agents, and wanting them to be gone before any of the other big targets are disposed of. So, her fears are sort of right, but not really, because I don't think Michele is at the top of the list. Nick, however, certainly is towards the top of the list. His name was brought up for elimination last episode and is still fresh in everyone's minds. Of course, Nick wasn't happy that his name was brought up, especially on his birthday, which, happy birthday, Nick. And with this huge bit of information, Nick has decided that now is no longer the time to be sitting on the sidelines and to watch the game just go by in his mind. He's ready to start making some more aggressive moves and is ready to really take control and cause chaos around camp. I mean, it seems like Nick's going all Inigo Montoya on everyone. It's like, you killed Wendell, prepared to die. Like that sort of thing. Which could be good, could be bad. I mean, I'd love to see Nick start to play more aggressively, but if he does that, he's gotta hone it in a little bit. He can't go too mad with power, or else that's just going to cause several problems for himself down the line. Meanwhile, we cut over to the cat with 9 lives, Adam, who has once again dodged a bullet at the vote that night. He, like I said, he received 3 votes at elimination, which at this point I've lost count of how many tribal councils Adam has received votes at. Probably almost all of them, it seems, but Adam is still determined to try and get a better standing with everyone in camp. And he started to notice something at Tribal Council that he's not sure anyone else has picked up on yet. As I said earlier in the season, everyone is seemingly a lot more alert with wherever advantages could be, whether they're somewhere during the challenge, whether they're at camp, whether they're in the champagne glasses at the first toast of the game. But Adam thinks there's an immunity idol at Tribal Council, paying close attention to this fleur-de-lis pendant that's on the front of Jeff's podium, thinking it sort of matches up to the podium, or not the podium, the markings that were on the immunity idol, how that was also in a fleur-de-lis shape. And once he said this, I was very skeptical. I wasn't going to rule it out, because, I mean, Survivor has thrown crazier shit at us than that. And the idea of something being hidden at Tribal Council has crossed my mind a few times prior, so that wouldn't surprise me. But it was kind of hard to figure out whether or not this was actually legit or not. My gut was telling me no, but my brain was saying, it's possible. So I wasn't going to rule out Adam's claim just yet. I had to see proof first before I could really comment on this idea he was thinking of. So Adam was thinking about Jeff's podium and the fleur-de-lis pendant on top. Not sure if it's real or not, and thinking maybe I'll have to inspect it next tribal council to find out if it's real or not. And if it is, then all the more power to me. I'm thinking this could end brilliantly for Adam, or this could end so fucking horribly, and I didn't know what was going to happen, but I knew we were going to find out by the end of the episode. So we'll get back to that in a little bit, but first, let's take a quick trip over to the edge of extinction. As of now, there are 8 contestants living on the edge. We have Natalie, Amber, Danny, Ethan, Rob, Parvati, Yul, and Wendell. A nice, happy bunch of 8. And the next fire token challenge has now arrived at camp, with there simply being a piece of parchment for everyone that simply says, history could repeat itself, and with every step you could come closer. Something along those lines. I don't remember exactly what it said, but basically it was saying history could repeat itself. So everyone was climbing back up the stairway to hell, I'll now call it, because of how much hell it is for everyone, and wondering what this could possibly mean. Whether it could mean the repeat of something throughout the history of the game, or whether it could mean the repeat of some advantage or challenge that they've already had for the Edge of Extinction. Everyone splits up into groups, and the group we're gonna focus on right now is Parvati and Danny, who... I mean, Parvati, we've obviously seen a lot of screen time, but Danny, I've almost completely forgotten she's existed, because she's pretty much just been there. Like, not really saying anything and not really stealing the show, just there. So it was kind of nice to see her get some screen time, and kind of nice to see her get a moment of glory, even though she wasn't the one who found the advantage. It was actually Parvati. Danny just helped. But yes, Parvati and Danny found the advantage, and they found it by thinking back to the first Edge of Extinction season, when Aubrey found an advantage just by looking at the stairs and seeing like a tiny little hut in the stone wall, reaching in and finding the advantage. So they try that same trick, and sure enough, they find an advantage, and a brand new one to Survivor, might I add. This is the 50-50 coin, where basically you use this at a tribal council, and all you do is flip the coin. If it lands on safety, you have immunity. If it lands on no safety, you don't have immunity. It seems pretty straightforward, and I like the advantage. I like that it's something fresh and new that we haven't seen before, but I'm going to be perfectly honest, I think this advantage could be better, because I feel like if you land on not safety, there should be some sort of punishment. Like some sort of something that also comes into effect if you don't earn safety. Like either maybe you lose your vote at tribal council, or hell, even receiving a penalty vote at tribal council. Something. Because just not receiving safety just makes it seem a little boring. I mean, on the plus side, it's nothing to lose if you flip it, but I kind of want there to be a bit more danger. And that could have also played a little more into the negotiation for the fire tokens. I'm just saying. So Parvati and Danny find the coin, and they're trying to think of who to give this to try to get fire tokens to purchase food or peanut butter. And before I get into that, I should clear up something. There was a point I forgot to make last episode that I ended up posting in the comments, just on a whim, just to get my point across. But the point I was going to make was that I no longer think Tyson made a mistake by purchasing the peanut butter a few episodes ago with the fire tokens. I know I was giving him a lot of shit, like, you could have bought an advantage, why did you spend it on peanut butter? But honestly, the peanut butter did its job. It gave Tyson nutrients, it helped him hugely in the challenge, gave him a lot of strength, and I think it made the difference in him winning and him coming back into the game. If he hadn't had bought that peanut butter, I don't think Tyson would have won that challenge. I think Rob would have won. So I really think it made a huge difference in the end. So I apologize. I take back what I said. Ordering food certainly has a purpose. I still think maybe buying an advantage would be better, but you're starving, you're hungry, you want any strength you can get, so do whatever you want. I'm not one to judge. So Parvati and Danny know that they want to purchase food, but they also decide to fill in Amber, Ethan, Rob, and Natalie, everyone who's been at the edge longer. Basically everyone except Yule and Wendell, because they're new, they just got there. They haven't really had the effects hit them yet, and they want to try to split the food with all of them. I don't know if they actually bought food yet or anything, but we'll probably find that out next episode. Meanwhile, let's head back to the reward challenge. And as for who got the coin, I'll get into that later. So we get into the reward challenge. The first real reward challenge that we are seeing this season. I know there was one a couple episodes ago where the tribes competed for pizza, but it wasn't aired. So this is the first one we're seeing. And it's a reward for Chinese takeout, which is... I know they've done it before, but it's just a strange reward to me. I mean, certainly not a bad one, but it's just the way Jeff phrases it. It just seemed a little strange and doesn't fit in with the other rewards. But I don't care too much about it. So it's challenged with 2 teams of 5, and of course, one unlucky person has to sit out. And it was a schoolyard pick that decided it, so that stung even more. And I feel so bad for Denise. She didn't even get to play. But the teams were chosen for the challenge, and it was Ben and the 4 girls versus the rest of the guys. And it was another close challenge, but the girls managed to the girls and Ben managed to claim victory and win reward. And I'm thinking, all right, they're going to go back to camp, have a happy lunch, and everything's going to be fine. But to my surprise, Sarah decides to step forward and state that she wants to give her reward up to Nick, since it was his birthday yesterday and she felt bad for him being left out of the vote. Which, I mean, certainly a nice thing for Sarah to do, but in the grand scheme of things, I really don't think that was a smart idea. And everybody else in the episode pretty much brought up the same points I would have made myself, that just because you're doing something nice for someone, that doesn't mean everyone believes it. Every single move you make in this game could be perceived as a game move, even if you don't intend it to be one. So even if you're just doing a simple thing by maybe giving someone a little more, if you accidentally give someone a little more rice in their portions for dinner, somebody could see that and perceive that as favoritism. I know that's a bit of a stretch, but it could happen. So you have to be very self-aware with the moves you make, and especially if you want to try to make things personal or aside from the game, you have to make sure it really comes across as a good-hearted gesture move. But really, anything could come back to help you or to hurt you. And honestly, this could be a scenario. I don't expect this to happen now, given what happened later in the episode. But what Sarah could have thought was, if Nick was on the jury and she was in the finale, she could bring up the fact of like, hey, Nick, I gave you that reward. I'm a nice person, and use that as leverage for a vote. I don't know. But basically, anything could be used to help you or hurt you in this game. That's my main point. So Sarah does her thing, and of course, everyone's talking about how it just seems sketchy. Adam thinks it's weird, Jeremy was thinking it was weird, and even Tony was telling Sarah, I don't think you should have done that. That was a huge mistake. Even though Sarah continues to claim she was just being nice. So everyone is enjoying the Chinese food, and we learn even Nick is wary of Sarah's moves, thinking it was strange what Sarah was trying to do, and also bringing up the fact that, or actually this might have been Adam who said this, that the last time Sarah played this game, Game Changers, she made a lot of close friends and stab them in the back. Case in point with people like Sierra, where she straight up got her legacy advantage right after voting her out. So Nick really thinks Sarah's up to something sinister, and I knew that was going to cause a lot of drama later in the day. And also during the reward challenge, everyone was checking just about everything that came with the reward for clues, even checking the fortunes in the fortune cookie, which honestly, even I thought was a bit of a stretch. And it's during the reward that we find out that Michele was the one who was gifted the 50-50 coin from Parvati and Danny, which doesn't surprise me because I know how close Parvati and Michele were. But this coin comes at a hefty price. Michele is going to have to give up all 4 of her fire tokens for this coin. So give up 4 smaller coins for an even bigger one. And as Michele said, she, or at least was, the richest person out of everyone at camp. Which, by the way, I did actually check the fire token numbers, and I will state how many everybody has at the end of the episode. So I know where everyone stands right now. And I think I'm going to keep track of this from here on out. So Michele is really going back and forth about whether or not to give up all of her tokens for this thing that really only has a 50% chance of actually working to her benefit. And personally, I was thinking she shouldn't take it. I mean, if it was for 2 tokens, maybe, but not for all 4 of them. Because of how much of a risk factor this was and how much this really could backfire for her. If it was for something like an immunity idol, hell yes, you give up all 4 of your tokens. For a nullifier, for an extra vote, sure. But for something that really doesn't seem that impressive, I wouldn't do it. But Michele does. She gives up all 4 of her fire tokens for the 50-50 coin, taking note of what her fortune said back during the reward challenge, how an empty purse could bring you happiness and you need to take that next big step. So she bought the 50-50 coin. We'll see how it comes into play later. Personally, I don't think she should have bought it, but we'll see. This could work out for her benefit. She could flip it, and she could earn herself safety at a very crucial tribal council. So I'll see later on if this works out for her. So now let's cut over to the immunity challenge, and it's another tough challenge. As I've noticed with many of the recent seasons of Survivor, the first 5 individual immunity challenges, it seems like, are always some sort of endurance challenge. And this one's no different. It's a challenge that they've done a few times, but one I remember most fondly from Caramoan, where we saw the showdown between Brenda and Andrea that ended up coming down to them standing on 1 foot because they were lasting so long in the challenge. But this was... It didn't come to that point in this time, because I know there was another season when they also incorporated the standing on a foot. I don't remember which one it was, but I know they did it again. It was another really close challenge. Not really much to comment here. People started dropping like flies once we got to the last section, and it ultimately came down to Ben and Kim, both of whom were really steady. But in the end, Ben's weird kung fu tai chi moves couldn't save him. He fell in the water, and Kim managed to win individual immunity for the first time this season, and the 5th time in her Survivor career, because I looked it up. She won 4 immunities during the first time she played Survivor One World. So now we go back to camp, and coming into this, I really didn't know who was going to get targeted, but once again, Tony's bringing up the idea to target the hyenas, namely Nick, Michele, Sophie, and Adam. And it seems like Nick is the one they want to target the most because of how close he was with Wendell and because of how shifty he tends to be. And Tony also brings up the idea for Michele to be a backup plan. But as Nick promised us earlier in the episode, he was going to start playing a lot more chaotically and a lot more aggressively. So Nick started throwing out a bunch of names left and right, one of which was Sophie that he brought up to Jeremy and Adam. That didn't really end up sticking, and Adam kind of turned it into targeting Sarah because he knew how close Sarah was with Sophie, and also because he knew how close Sarah was with Ben, knowing that he wanted to split them up. So Sarah becomes a huge talking point for Tribal Council and for the idea of being voted out, which really surprised me that Nick would go out and target right away the person who gave up his reward as just a simple favor towards him, which shows you how ruthless some of these contestants can really be this season. So Nick is targeting Sarah, which should be pretty straightforward, but now another idea starts getting thrown out as word gets back to Ben that Sarah's being targeted, and once he hears that Adam's the one who really started this conversation, now Adam's name is being thrown out. Again. Like, I saw a joke on Twitter, somebody had stated how Adam is really starting to turn into Karishma this season, how Karishma, her name was brought up pretty much every single tribal council, and she kept surviving time after time after time. And I was really starting to see the resemblance this episode with Adam's name once again on the chopping block. So now Adam's a potential target, and people are starting to throw his name out. Jeremy's just still sitting at the same bench throughout the entire montage, wondering what the hell's going on. He's confused, everyone's confused, and I'm confused. Adam is totally backed into a corner by Ben as he's being confronted by him. Ben's asking him if Adam was the one who started the conversation to get rid of Sarah, and Adam's not really giving him a straight answer, which is never a good idea, and also kind of gives Ben all the information he needs to hear. So now Adam knows he's in trouble, and as he said, all hell broke loose. I think I heard every single contestant's name being mentioned at one point or another. And it was at that point I was legitimately lost. I didn't know what was going to happen, other than the fact that I knew there was going to be a lot of whispering at Tribal Council. So everyone's getting ready to go to Tribal Council and vote. I think that still the biggest targets that were being mentioned were Nick, Sarah, and Adam. And with Adam knowing he was in trouble, he was once again thinking, I gotta go for whatever the hell that pendant idol thing is at the front of Jeff's podium. And as soon as he said that, I knew Adam was screwed. I knew this was going to end very poorly, and I knew that this was just Survivor's way of setting it up for Adam to go home. And I was preparing myself for anything at Tribal. So Tribal starts, and as somebody put it, I think it was Denise, it was basically the Wild Wild West. Everyone was standing tall, hands on their holsters, grabbing their guns, ready to shoot, and whoever made the first shot would be the one who'd have all the glory. And as I predicted, the whispering starts almost right away, with everyone still so confused as to who the target was. Is it Nick? Is it Sarah? Is it Adam? And everyone just starts going nuts, with Adam going all over the place trying to talk to everyone. He's not really getting a straight answer from really that many people. And Ben then brings up Adam's shiftiness, how Adam's been this way since the start of the game, back at Sele with trying to get in good with Rob, and back at Yara with wondering if he or Sarah had an idol. Like I've said before, I love Adam, but the way he's played this season has not really been great. And I think tonight everything was finally catching up to him. So Adam is still trying to get all the information he can, but he's not really getting that much from anyone. He's practically getting the full-on silent treatment with that weird, awkward pause there was at Tribal Council. So like I said, I was totally prepared for Adam to get the boot, unless that pendant thing, whatever the hell it was, turned out to be real. Because as I've said, stranger things have happened on Survivor. So it wouldn't shock me if it actually was real. But I also thought if it was a real idol, I'd think it was a lot more prominent. And I'd think it'd be something that was mentioned prior. So I really didn't think it was real. The votes are cast, and everyone sits down. Jeff's like, does anyone want to play an idol? Adam stands up, runs right over to the podium, starts yanking on that stupid pendant, and nothing. That thing wasn't budging at all, and I just facepalm at home. Like, dude, you have just made a fool of yourself. You have just embarrassed yourself. And if you don't go home after this, I will be so surprised. And I was kind of hoping it would stop there for Adam's sake, but no, they had to keep talking about it. Jeff's just like, so you really thought that was an idol? And Adam's like, well, yeah, is it? Can I play it? Jeff's like, you want to play this pendant for tribal council, for the votes? Just egging him on, just giving him all sorts of false hope, leaving everyone on the edge of their seats until Probst is just like, no, you dummy, that's not real. Sit down. Which, like I said, is exactly what I thought. Adam is thoroughly embarrassed, but hey, I give him props for trying. I'll be honest. If I thought that was an immunity idol, I'd probably go for it too. I would have done the same thing. So I commend him for trying and for really, really digging deep and going straight to whatever plan this was, whether it be plan A or plan Z. But not surprisingly, Adam was given the boot at Tribal Council. This cat had finally lost his final life, and at least Adam could say he finally had the honor of getting his torch snuffed by Jeff Probst. As a super fan, I can understand that being a huge deal, and for that being pretty awesome to happen. So Adam is eliminated. He had one fire token, and he decides to give it to Denise, even though he's pretty sure Denise casted a vote for him, but he wanted to honor their day one alliance and their bond, so he gave it to Denise, and now Denise has 3 fire tokens. And let me get into this right now, the fire token standings for everyone. At this moment, Denise and Nick are tied for the most fire tokens out of anyone still in the actual game of Survivor. 3. 3 for Denise, 3 for Nick. Jeremy, Kim, and Sophie each have 2. Ben, Sarah, and Tony each have 1. And Michele and Tyson each have 0. And as for the Edge of Extinction, the only person there who has fire tokens now is Parvati. But I don't know if she spent them on food, if she split them with Danny. I don't know their standing at the moment. We'll probably know for certain next time. So, that concludes a very confusing and a very wild episode of Survivor, and it seems like next week's certainly going to continue that trend. It seems like more names are being thrown out during the little bit of like next time on Survivor, but there was one thing somebody said that really caught my attention. I don't know if I heard it right. Maybe I didn't. I could be wrong, but it sounded like Kim stated that she wanted to go to the Edge of Extinction and really change up this game. I don't know what she means by that, but I really hope she's not serious, because that is a extraordinarily stupid idea. If Kim is serious that she wants to go to the Edge of Extinction, I really hope she's thought this through, because it does not sound like a good idea. But then again, I could have misheard her, and she could be talking about something completely different. Anyway, guys, that just about does it for this crazy episode of Survivor. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more content. Can't wait to see you guys next week. This season is really shaping up to be one of the best. That's it for me. This is Jake Schaff signing out. I'll see you next time.